All right, this is the 74th episode of the Runnin My Mouth podcast. I am your deeply irritated host, Aaron. Allow me to run my mouth for a little bit. I will say, I'm not as irritated as I was when I woke up this morning. I don't know what had happened. And I feel like I haven't really had to deal with this in a while, so I don't really know what's going on. But there have been times where I have just woken up on the wrong side of the bed, just woke up mad, and today was one of those days. Why? I don't know. Nothing happened. I just feel that way. And sometimes it be like that. Although I will say I feel like I had a noisy morning because, I didn't go to any shows this weekend or over the last couple of weeks, so we'll just start with that. But have I? No, I haven't. Have I? No, I don't think so. Well, whatever. We'll get there when we get there. No, I haven't. I feel like I would know if I did. Yeah, no, I haven't. Okay, so I went to bed at what I thought was a normal time, probably closer to 11. Although I think I went to bed at like 10:30. No, this is important. Either way, woke up 7 o'clock, was feeling kind of whatever. I did want to sleep in a little bit, so I went back to bed. Well, I tried to wake up because, I had things to do. The thing being go to the grocery store, that's kind of it. And, I just don't like going to the grocery store after a certain time. Like after 11, I already know I'm going to have an annoying time trying to shop for groceries. Honestly, it wasn't even like that. So I don't know, but either way, I was woken up at like 10:30 this morning by what I can only describe as the sounds of bowling on being, happening by my upstairs neighbor. So already that made me mad. Honestly, that was mostly it. I think that was the what do you call it, catalyst for my anger. I won't call it anger because it wasn't anger, but it was irritation this morning. And I think that just set the tone for the whole day. And honestly, today hasn't even been that annoying. I feel like yesterday, I don't know what it was, but I ventured out yesterday and everyone was making the most appalling decisions on Dwight Eisenhower's interstates. Like, what's going on? It was just, I don't know. I feel like I saw the most confusingly bad driving, like to the point where I'm taking notice that a lot of people are engaging in confusingly bad driving. I don't know, man. I feel like every time I drive on the interstate, I'm like a little bit irritated. Anytime I get in a car, I'm a little bit irritated because, as we have long since established, I don't like driving. So, like, this isn't new or surprising. But yesterday, it just felt extra irritating. I don't know what it was. Anyways, I was irritated this morning. Right now, I'm not gonna lie, I am a little bit irritated because it's like the light magnifies all of the dust particles on my glasses, which, by the way, I've been wearing glasses for, it's gotta be about 6 months now. I started wearing them in February, or like late February, or something like that. And I have pretty much adjusted to it. I like the fact that I can see better these days. But having to clean my glasses, not great. And, I could just wear contacts, but where's the fun in that? I don't want to put things on my eyeball. Like, that's kind of perilous. I don't know if I want to do that. And also, I feel like I'm the type of person where I'm definitely going to forget that I'm wearing contacts and I'm going to go to bed with them. And you're apparently not supposed to do that. And also, again, I don't want to have to be that close to my eyeball, so I'm going to wear the glasses. I don't care. All right, that is so much better. We're already doing so much better. Yeah. What was I talking about? I don't know. Woke up mad this morning. Not exactly mad anymore. And now it's 7 o'clock. Here we are. I've got to start another work week. But not a full week, because this Saturday is the 4th of July. And we get Friday off, so that's cool, I guess. Juneteenth weekend was pretty decent. I didn't go anywhere or do anything. Either way, it was nice to not have to work for 5 days. I did 4 instead of 5. I suppose the same can be said for this upcoming 3-day weekend. But anywho, I feel like I'm beating around the bush. I don't really have that many topics this week. I'm not gonna lie. One of these I'm thinking about scratching out because I don't know, maybe I'll still do it. I feel like every time I say, oh, there's not enough to talk about, I still end up yapping for 2 hours. And such is the podcaster life. But anyways, I am a little bit prepared today. I actually looked things up. Please clap. Everybody clap for me. But I had two things that I wanted to read out, two articles that I wanted to read that are similar, not really actually similar. I mean, the subject matter is somewhat the same, but contrasting in different ways. And I wanted to read that out. But before I got into that and, some of the other things that I wanted to talk about today, which I feel like, this that I'm about to do is like the only like semi-serious thing that I will have to talk about, but it would be remiss of me to not mention that I have music coming out. That is right. I am about to release some music. And as you're listening to this, which this is going to come out on the first of the month. Whoa. It'll be out this Friday. So in 2 days after you're watching this, if you are watching this when it comes out, if you're watching this on Friday, it's already out. If you're watching this on Thursday, it's coming out tomorrow. And if you're watching this at any point after Friday, the 3rd of July, 2026, it's already out. I am putting out an EP. It is 4 songs. It is called Precipice, and it is an ambient synth collection of music. And the way that I've described it to people is, imagine for a minute, it is nighttime. You're trespassing on the roof of a parking garage, looking out onto the city. This is what you would be listening to. It's 48 minutes of haunting, ambient, maybe even mournful synth stuff. One of these songs I did make using my guitar, so not strictly all synth stuff, but it is mostly synth stuff. Like I said, 4 tracks. Track 1, we got Highway 80. Track 2, we have A Walk Through Time. Track 3 is The Great Trepidation. And track 4 is Desperate Prayer. One of these I have a different version of on Instagram, not Jackson Underground, which you should be following me at, but at Alexina_. That's ALEXZEENA _. But it's a different version. You're getting a new version on this EP. And yeah, I am really excited, even though my tone may not betray that. I'm really excited to be releasing some music, and I'm really excited to know what people think about it. And I will say I've been working on this stuff for about a month and a half, since like mid-May or thereabouts. So not really that long in the grand scheme of things, but something that kind of caught me off guard was as I was deciding, because I have some other stuff that I've recorded. As I was deciding what to actually include on this, I was thinking like, oh, are people going to like it? Are people going to like this one? And then I stopped myself, and it's like, that's not what this is about. It's whether or not I like it, And obviously, to a certain degree, I do hope people like it, but when it came to the stuff that I have decided to collect and put out, I feel like the bigger question, the more important question in my mind was whether or not I liked it, and I felt like it was ready to be shared in like a semi-official way, So I feel like these 4 tracks are definitely meet that criteria. And so it's going to be released on Bandcamp and YouTube, not YouTube Music, because I've done the research, and DistroKid doesn't cost a lot. I'm not gonna lie, it does not cost that much. It's like $20 a year or something like that, but I just didn't feel like paying for it. So I was like, you know what, whatever, I'll just put it on Bandcamp and on YouTube as just like videos, and that's how you can listen to it. I do have it set on Bandcamp where you should be able to stream it without actually buying the EP. It is going to be only $3, so like pretty cheap, I think. So I feel like you should be able to do that. But if not, you can obviously stream it an unlimited amount of times on youtube.com. So when that is out, you will know about it because I'll be posting it everywhere and telling everybody. And I'm honestly really excited. I made the album art myself. I'm very proud of it. You know, I found this website. Well, I don't know if I found it or I heard about it in some capacity. It is the Public Domain Image Archive. And it is exactly what it says on the tin. It's an archive of public domain images from, like, you know, long time ago in history. I was going to say the Victorian era. I mean, a lot of it's up until, you know, what, 100 years ago. So 1926, I think that's the limit for like public domain stuff in the US anyways, or maybe, I don't know. I went and looked through, I paged through their website to kind of see what was in there, because, you know, I am an artiste. Well, I was at one point in time in my life. Do I still have it? Probably. But for the vibe that I was going for, I thought, you know what would be great for this? Some Victorian era art. And I found one thing that I really wanted to use. Then I found this other picture that I thought was like so much better. It is a total solar eclipse from 1889, taken in California. That is the origin of the picture. But of course, I had to put my seasonings on it, my saison, my flavorings. So, yeah, I actually put. Oh my god, I've flies. I put a poll on Instagram to see whether, because originally I was going to have it so that the image was inverted, like the colors were inverted, but then I uninverted it and I looked down and I was like, I kind of like that a little bit better. And so did everybody, well, most of everybody else. So that's the version that I ended up going for. But if I ever, which I don't know, I don't know if this would be something that I would do, but if ever there were a time that I put out a deluxe version of this EP, then I have cover art ready to go. So there you go. But yeah, it is. So my Bandcamp, it is live. There's nothing on it, obviously, because this hasn't come out yet. But it's alexina.bandcamp.com. That's alexzeena.bandcamp.com. My YouTube, the new channel, is, hold on, because it's slightly different. It's Alexzeena Music, so ALEXZEENA dash music. And of course there's nothing there because it's not live yet. But when it will be live, when it goes live, it'll be there on a playlist, or in a playlist rather. And yeah, like I said, I'm really excited for this to come out. I think it's really cool that I'm just making music now. That's so much fun. And honestly, the process for making these songs was like a lot of fun. And you know, I think we can all learn something here. It should be fun. Making music should be fun. Like, straight up, making music should be fun. And it is for me. So yeah. Yeah, I am genuinely really excited. Like, this is new. It's new and it's exciting. Like, I've never done this before. I've done a lot of things on the internet in my day. I've, you know, done the YouTuber thing for a while. I've been doing the podcaster thing for a while. Now I guess I'm gonna be doing the music thing for however long I feel like it. So I will definitely, yeah, keep a lookout. All right. Now that that's out of the way, we get to my readings for the evening, and I do apologize if I slip up on some of this stuff, but we have already established that I'm not the best popcorn reader, although that's a lie. In school, I was kind of the best popcorn reader. So, like, you know, I guess those skills degrade after a while. I don't know. Anyways, the two contrasting stories that I wanted to read. The first one here is going to be a blog post by Visit Jackson, which is the nice story. It's about the Landmass Library. And the next one is going to be from The Intercept. And it's about the people or person from Texas who got a 30-year sentence for transporting zines, who was arrested in connection with a protest that they were not even at. And I chose to do this, right? I was already going to talk about the Visit Jackson thing because it's, nice local story that I am sort of kind of involved in. Not really, but sort of kind of involved in. But seeing this and then seeing the 30 years for transporting zines, it's kind of crazy, So I'm going to read the Visit Jackson one first and then the one from The Intercept, if my mic will cooperate, my mic stand rather. So the title of this Visit Jackson one is The Box on the Porch, Inside Jackson's Landmass, in parentheses, Zine Library. There's a free zine library on a pie shop porch in Jackson, Mississippi, and it says more about this city than you might expect. Meet the Landmass Library and the DIY community behind it. And there's a big picture of the library, the red little box that's on the porch at Urban Foxes. And here we have a subheader, a homemade magazine for anyone with something to say. There's a painted box on the porch of Urban Foxes in the Bellhaven Heights neighborhood of Jackson. It doesn't look like much from the outside, but pull it open and you'll find a rotating selection of handmade publications covering punk music, immigrant rights, trans visibility, DIY culture, and whatever else someone felt strongly enough to stable together and share. It's called the Landmass Library, and it's free. Lucy Isadora started it after years of reading and making zines herself. I'd been dreaming of making a zine distro box, she says. When Cody Cox at Urban Foxes raised the idea of having a zine presence at the venue, she grabbed an old apartment catalog box, painted it, and put it on the porch. Or as she likes to say, she repatriated it, which I think is a great name for that. The name came from a Weather Channel slight. A broadcaster once referred to Mississippi as a landmass between Louisiana and Alabama, as if the state didn't quite exist on its own terms. Isadora latched onto it. I think a lot of people overlook Mississippi who are otherwise very knowledgeable and well-traveled and culturally appreciative. I wanted to reference that thing of being overlooked and forgotten about. And then we have another picture from Zine Fest. I don't know why that escaped my brain. Another subheader. What is a zine exactly? ? What the great question. If you've never held one before, Lucy has a definition. A zine is a homemade magazine, usually about something kind of niche, usually shared for free or sold for very little profit. They usually look pretty handmade, lots of collage type art, sometimes they're kind of wonky. The format dates to the punk and sci-fi fan communities of the mid-20th century, built on the premise that you don't need a publisher or a budget to have something worth saying. I will say, sidebar, the first time I found out about zines was from the documentary The Punk Singer about Kathleen Hanna of Bikini Kill, and one of the things that's mentioned were fanzines that people were making, like up in Seattle. I think that's where she's from, up in Seattle at that time. And that was the first time I heard of that, and I was maybe 14 or 15. But something else that I've known kind of in the background. You want to know who are the originators of fandom culture? It's Star Trek fans. Those are the people making the first fanfics. Maybe not exactly having the first fandom conventions necessarily, but I will say that probably was the jumping off point for them. Making fan art and making fanzines. If it were not for people who are probably in their 60s and 70s now, making fan art and stuff about Star Trek, like, I feel like fandom culture, they are the originators of fandom culture. They probably had OCs, I feel like we need to give the Star Trek girlies their flowers. You want to know who was also a Star Trek girly? Weirdly, I don't know if Star Trek girly would be the term, but Martin Luther King, I think Martin Luther King was into Star Trek. Hold on. I know I didn't make this up. Hold on. Martin Luther King, Star Trek. Yeah. He was indeed. And yeah. So if there were what is it, the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, I can be connected to, hold on, I feel like I can extend this connection a little bit. I don't want to, you know what, never mind. We're going back to the article. So, the Landmass Library stocks a monthly rotation that includes Columbus Collective, a collective art zine out of Columbus, Mississippi, Razor Cake, which I have like 3 copies of on my coffee table right now, independent punk publication from Los Angeles, Maximum Rock and Roll out of San Francisco, and The Counterforce, an anti-corporate online project. Isadora also prints zines she finds online and adds her own work when the moment calls for it. And we have another image of the calendar of zine club meetings, which, by the way, I was at the last zine club meeting, and like I said, it's at Urban Fox's, and when I go, I like to have a little latte. You know, we're at a coffee shop. I'll have the coffee. Thank you very much. I don't know what it was about that latte, but I was up till nearly midnight that night, just awake on the ceiling, basically. Like, not exactly heart beating, but I was just wired. I don't know. They put the good stuff in there. I'll say that much. It was a good latte. Like, I'm an oat milk latte girl because I like the way oat milk tastes, and it doesn't make my tummy hurt, because I think milk might be starting to make my tummy hurt a little bit. But man, I was on the ceiling. Shout out to them, because they got me right. And I had it at like 6 o'clock, which, okay, maybe a little bit late to be having coffee, but still, that doesn't usually happen. I don't know what they did, but whatever they did, I was on the ceiling. Anywho, another subheader: counterculture and community access. Running a free library might seem at odds with zine culture's scrappy anti-establishment roots. I mean, not necessarily, but continue. But Isadora doesn't see a tension there. Everyone has a barrier to access these days, including reading, she says. It's very countercultural to give people literature for free. The Landmass Library also anchors a zine club where people gather, make things, and share them. Jackson zine makers are more active than most people realize. And this is the part that really surprised me, just personally. But Isadora names Justin Ransberg, Aaron at Jackson Underground, me, hello, I am notable zine maker, apparently, Sahana Mahaswaran, and Zach at Psychic Hand Tapes as people doing compelling work right now. I wish everyone made zines, she says. And honestly, me too, kind of. You know, people have things to say, and I think they should say them and print them out and hand them out to people, you know? It's not that hard. I feel like I make things unnecessarily hard because that's just what I do, but it truly is very easy. This fly is killing me right now, man. All right. Another subheader: the OGs who built the foundation. Jackson's zine culture didn't start with a box on a porch. David McCarty, attorney, Boulevard photographer, longtime DIY culture participant, and now an appeals court judge, really, has been making zines since his days at Mississippi State, where he produced the Sandusky Review, a personal anthology of art and poetry named after his tiny hometown in Alabama. You can have the Paris Review and the London Review of Books, he says. I thought it was the funniest thing in the world to have the Sandusky Review, and honestly, I can see it. Making the Selma Review, would I do it? I don't know. I mean, it's already been done. We already got one small town in Alabama that had a review, you know? Anyway, in Jackson, McCarty was part of a broader scene that coalesced around the Night Drop, a larger magazine format zine in collaboration with Zeta White, now Webb, Justin Schultz, and Sam Peck, running off copies at Kinko's and later Sir Speedy and Fondren before selling them at Sneaky Beans. McCarty was part of a constellation of Jackson creatives who kept the DIY scene alive through the 2000s and into the 2010s. Among them, Zeta White Webb, Justin Schultz, Sam Peck, Cody Cox, Wes Williams, and K.C. Williams, collaborators on anything from the Night Drop to handmade cassettes for the band Furrows. Some have moved away, all left marks. The work they made together is a story for another day, but the people are still here, still creating. The spirit behind all of it, McCarty says, was never about money or recognition. It was about continuing to create. If you live in Jackson and you make stuff, he says, That's punk rock. And we have another image, a close-up. I can see a stack of my Seeking QR code business cards that I printed out, which is a fun. And then this is another, what is this? Is this a Columbus Collective? I can't tell. And we have our final subheader, just make the thing. For anyone curious to try that hand at a zine, try that hand at a zine. Isadora's advice is characteristically direct. I tell them to send it to me because I want to read it. The openness gets at something larger about what the Landmass Library represents and what Jackson's DIY community has always understood. A lot of people don't know how much of the fun stuff that happens in Jackson is totally DIY, Isadora says. People all over town put on their own events, concerts, art clubs completely on their own without sponsorship from a company because they just want to have something like that where they live. Everyone who comes to Zine Club or grabs a zine from the Landmass Library is making a decision to make their own fun. That's one of my favorite things about Jackson. The box is on the porch. It's free. And if you've been looking for a community of people who make their own fun, challenge the status quo, and believe that everyone has something worth saying, they're already here. You just have to know where to look. Which honestly, first of all, love the article. And yeah, that is kind of right. You do just have to know where to look. And again, I think I, much like Lucy, think more people should be making zines. Because I want to know what the people have to say. Truly. You know what? And I know this is mildly hypocritical of me as someone who is currently sitting in front of a podcast mic, but I feel like if more people just bought inkjet printers instead of podcasting equipment, we might be a little bit farther along in society. Now, I don't have an inkjet printer. I have a regular printer. Or LaserJet. I think that's the one with like the big barrels that you put in there that only print in like black and white. But I think you can get a color LaserJet printer. Honestly, I need to get like an inkjet printer because if I do want to make more zines, which I do, this freaking Canon one that I have sitting over here really isn't gonna cut it. Like this is, you print stuff occasionally. That's what that is, because the ink gets used up so quickly. And again, ink is expensive. I really need like a LaserJet printer. I was gonna say maybe I'll ask for one for Christmas, but I've already asked for glass food storage containers and stainless steel cookware because I'm trying to get rid of my plastic and non-stick stuff. Not really for the health reasons that people claim, just because it doesn't hold up after a while. Because the stuff that I have is cheap, that's why. And while I would like to invest more money into the things that I have, that's not exactly possible a lot of the time. So anyways, we have this honestly really nice article about the Landmass Library and what it means to make a zine and the people who do it, and all that this is happening here in Jackson, and I guess by extension the rest of Mississippi. And then we contrast this with this other article about a 30-year sentence for transporting zines that the person didn't even make. So, we have this. We have the Landmass Library, which is great, but we also have, an administration that is actively trying to stop that kind of thing. So let me lubricate my throat before I continue. And read this, which it's a little bit longer than the other one. So this is from The Intercept. This was published June 26th. That was, 2 days ago? Friday? 30-year sentence for transporting zines as a five-alarm fire for free speech. And this is in partnership with the Freedom of the Press Foundation. The harsh sentence for a defendant who wasn't even at the Prairie Land protests is likely only the start of the Trump administration's efforts to outlaw free speech. And then we have a picture. Supporters of Prairie Land defendants display pamphlets and artwork after their sentencing outside of Fort Worth, Texas courthouse on June 23rd, 2026. Oh, and this was, I didn't say who wrote the last one. Last article was written by Paul Wolf at Visit Jackson. This one's written by Seth Stern and Jeremy Busby. And Seth Stern is the director of advocacy for the Freedom of the Press Foundation, and Jeremy Busby is a writer and activist incarcerated in Texas, who also co-wrote this. Okay. The Trump administration is attacking the right to publish or report information. Okay, I already messed up. Cool, thanks. The Trump administration attacking the right to publish or report information is a given at this point. The president has threatened journalists for everything from questioning the wisdom of his failed war with Iran to touching the peeled lining of the renovated reflecting pool, which, if you have been living under a rock and or with your head in the sand, they resurfaced the reflecting pool in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. With no bid contract, which means that they just gave the contract to someone. They didn't have to, submit a bid for it. So, the way that it works, let's say here, which there's a whole kerfuffle here with the trash contract, which not the same, but sort of kind of similar, just so that I can describe the process. So basically, if you are, let's say, a city, and the city needs to do something. Let's say the city needs to cut down some trees. What would happen usually, and I am really, really oversimplifying this, is that a number of companies would submit bids to do this, and then whomever, a council perhaps of the city would pick one of these bids and then select the company that would be cutting down the trees. I think that's supposed to be, in theory, so that, there's not elbow rubbing going on. That, of course, doesn't always happen that way, because there's the whole thing with the trash contract that we had here, where, Richard's Disposal was chosen to do trash pickup, but, the person who is running it, okay, it's been a while since this has happened, so I'm gonna misremember some things, but basically they're saying that whomever owned Richard's Disposal was in cahoots with the mayor, and there might have been some what do you call it? Not pushback, not payback. It's something back. Kickbacks. That's the back. Kickbacks for selecting that company. And then there's a whole trash crisis, which that was 2 years ago now, where we didn't have trash pickup for a month because of that. Yeah, I still have the picture on my phone from all the trash piled up outside of my apartment back then. But yeah. Anywho, all that to say is, Mr. Donnie Trump selected some Florida pool company to resurface the reflecting pool, and they did a really bad job, and now it's peeling, and now they're arresting people for touching the peeling lining of it. So there you go. All right, tantrums like those may now feel routine, but this week marked a new front in Trump's war on information. Daniel Des Sanchez Estrada was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison for transporting a box of zines he didn't even write. He's one of the 8 defendants sentenced on Tuesday to a combined 450 years. The first prison sentences against so-called Antifa handed down under the framework of NSPM 7. President Donald Trump's sweeping counterterrorism memorandum to clamp down on dissent from the left. Now, I remember seeing somewhere, there's a list. There's a list of leftist dissidents out there somewhere. Hold on. I think it's on the White House. Yeah. Leftist Influencer Archives. So, yeah, there's just a list. Let me see. Where's the list? Oh no, hold on. Media offenders. Yeah, this is on the official White House, which I feel kind of crazy for even having gone to this freaking website without like a VPN or something, but whatever, it's been done now. It's literally on the White House website of misleading, biased, exposed media offender of the week, CNN. And I feel like there's like a list, and then they have a leaderboard of what does this even mean, you know? Anywho, I thought there was a list. I thought there was. Meet left wing. Okay, that's from last year. Well, this is from earlier in June on a website called military.com. Don't know what that's about. White House targets online commentators and leftist influencer section. The page published under the White House's broader media offender section names individual commentators and figures. Hold on, I think I was already there. Let's see. There's media bias categories. What? Okay. Let me see. Sources, blah, blah, blah. Offender Hall of Shame. Search headline. Publication. Okay. I feel like there's a list. There's a list out there somewhere. I kind of wanted to go to the list to see who's on it, but I don't know if that's... Anyway. There is a list somewhere. I'm like one paragraph in. That's crazy. Or 2 paragraphs in, rather. I will continue. The prosecution's theory was that Sanchez moved the zines, which discussed anarchism and other anti-government ideas, to conceal evidence in the case against his wife, Maricela Rueda. Rueda attended a July 4th, 2025 protest at the Prairie Land Immigration Jail in Texas, where a police officer was shot. She was not accused of shooting him or having anything to do with the shooting, but was herself sentenced to 70 years for protesting, mind you. But that nuance is cold comfort. It assumes that simply possessing years-old political pamphlets that said nothing about the protest or shooting could somehow constitute evidence of a crime. Sharing the political ideology of the shooter, the government contended, meant that Rueda and her co-defendants were culpable for the shooter's actions, and by allegedly attempting to prevent officers from finding out about Rueda's ideology, Sanchez shared in the blame as well. We've reached a point in the erosion of the First Amendment where the government considers possession of anarchist zines and membership in a terrorist cell to be more or less the same thing. Once the box of zines was discovered, there was no need to prove Rueda planned or had any idea that anyone would be shot at the protest. What's worse is that this will likely only ramp up the administration's efforts to criminalize being in possession of information. Whatever you may think of former CNN host Don Lemon, by the way, I think this is a opinion piece. If it wasn't obvious by now, because it's like in not really first person, but you get what I mean. Whatever you may think, where am I? I've lost my place. Whatever you may think, oh my god, the flies. Whatever you may think of former CNN host Don Lemon, he's no anarchist or extremist, and the content of his broadcasts bears little resemblance to the zine Sanchez was convicted of transporting. And yet, after indicting him and independent journalist Georgia Fort on frivolous charges relating to their live streaming of a protest at a Minnesota church, the government sought a warrant to obtain the identities of subscribers to their YouTube channels. And, we're seeing a lot more coming out about like age verification and stuff like that, where you have to upload your ID just to be able to friggin' log into Blue Sky. I haven't used Blue Sky in several months because, first of all, it wasn't available here for a while, but I guess after a while they were like, whatever, we're just going to do the age verification thing, where if you want to use the website Blue Sky in Mississippi, you have to, I forgot what it was, either like put in your credit card information or upload your ID in order to use Blue Sky. And I was like, I don't think this is worth it. So I just haven't been on Blue Sky. So RIP to that. But, all that to say, now that there are a lot more social media platforms that are requiring in different places, and honestly, this has been mostly in the EU for now, but it's starting to trickle down here as well, requiring you, under the guise of protecting the children, to upload your government issued ID to use the internet. It's like, this is what it is going to be used for. So I don't know if we're ready for that, but that's what's coming for us. So fortunately, a judge rejected that warrant, but it's a chilling revelation of the administration's modus operandi. Lemon and Fort's YouTube subscribers would, of course, have no knowledge of what happened at the church protest beyond what was publicly broadcast. Their identities are irrelevant to whether Lemon and Fort committed a crime, as the box of zines was to Rueda's case. The only conceivable reason the government might want a list of YouTube subscribers is to keep an eye on people who watch disfavored shows. And let's say someone who watched Lemon and Fort's live streams then heard about their arrest and had cleared their browser history because they rightly feared the administration might target them. Could they then be prosecuted for concealing the evidence under the same logic applied to Sanchez? If they downloaded the video, could they be accused of possessing contraband? Would forwarding a link equate to trafficking? It all sounds preposterous, but virtually nothing is too absurd for this Department of Justice. In fact, it's already argued that documents investigative reporters, okay, I need to read ahead a little bit, that documents investigative reporters received from whistleblower sources can constitute contraband, as if we're all collectively inside of a prison, It's worth pointing out that Joe Biden's DOJ used the same logic when it pursued its ridiculous transporting of information case against Project Veritas for moving Ashley Biden's diary across state lines. The frivolous actions create a catch-22 for all Americans. The more people are investigated for engaging with ideas the administration deems dangerously anti-government, the more likely others are to conceal evidence about their own controversial beliefs. Not because they are evidence of any real crime, but because prosecutors are out of control. But if they do, they risk incriminating themselves. NSPM 7, which was issued last September, tasked federal agencies with dismantling networks of anti-fascist actors, a purposely overly broad term since expanded to include those with extreme viewpoints on immigration, radical gender ideology, and anti-American sentiment. Given that Antifa, as a singular, cohesive organization, is a figment of the right's imagination, agents cannot accomplish that task by uncovering a membership registry. You know who did have membership registries, though? The Klan. I can't remember if I talked about this when this happened, but this was maybe 2 months ago. The Mississippi Department of Archives and History found like this huge collection of like Klan materials just like sitting somewhere, and within them was literally a membership ledger and also like the charter for the Klan, which is the goofiest thing I had ever read in my life, because it just, the terminology that the Klan used was, I don't know, man. It's like, I don't want to call it nerd behavior, but it kind of was. Like, I don't know, just like, you can look up a glossary of Klan terms, but it's just goofy, And as someone who, as a child, which again, a child in the 2000s, so I don't think I was under any direct threat from the Klan, but as a kid who was legitimately afraid of the Ku Klux Klan, thinking that at any moment, I could be Emmett Tilled myself. They're kind of goofy, but they also did cause, again, a lot of like measurable, tangible harm. So it's like, I can kind of laugh at the glossary, but at the same time, they really did, again, do a lot of measurable, tangible harm to Black people. So it's like, on the one hand, goofy as heck. On the other hand, were an actual threat at one point in time. So, moving on. Where am I? They can only do so by identifying people with viewpoints they consider extreme, like anti-ICE protesters. Officers have told they're being added to watch lists, or pro-Palestine opinion writers they've sought to deport. In Chicago and other cities ICE invaded, activists and organizers packaged whistles and zines to distribute to residents, which was also something that was done here. Under the logic of NSPM 7 and Sanchez's, again, done here and done in the Landmass Library. That is a network of actors engaged in organized political violence. Us putting pamphlets and plastic whistles in the Landmass Library, according to the Trump administration, constitutes political violence. Apparently. Apparently that's what that is. You know? Where am I? If you read one of their zines, you could, or read, actually don't, this is, what tense is this? If you read one of their zines, you could be deemed a member of an illicit enterprise. And if you hide one, you're covering for criminals. The government argued that the Prairie Land defendants are different. One prosecutor said, people with that kind of extremist beliefs need extra time in prison. They believe violence is justified. Which Yeah, U.S. District Judge Reed O'Connor, in handing down the sentences, reportedly said he wanted to send a message to anyone who shares a similar ideology. But lots of people believe political violence is sometimes justified. If someone who believes punching Nazis is justified attends an anti-Nazi protest where someone else punches a Nazi, they are at risk of being convicted of assault alongside the actual assailant, particularly if they have some anti-Nazi literature on a bookshelf. The answer is far less obvious than it used to be. The administration has vowed the Prairie Land case will not be the last of its kind. We must take it at its word. The next one might also involve protesters from the political fringes rather than ordinary Americans reading, say, The Intercept, which is this outlet, or watching Don Lemon on YouTube. But what about the one after that? We're not as far away as you might think. Stephen Miller has called the whole Democratic Party a domestic extremist organization, which, by the way, may I remind some of you all, at not the last CPAC, but the one before that, they put on the big screen, we are all domestic terrorists. They're the ones who are claiming to be the domestic terrorists. And of course that might have been like a, we're domestic terrorists, but also they kind of are. Hello. I feel like, I don't know. It wasn't really that long ago in the grand scheme of things, but I feel like we're forgetting collectively about January 6th. And, was that 5 years ago? Yes. Was that long ago? No. But also, there were a group of people who were all ideologically aligned in one way, and they weren't leftists, that did a domestic terrorism not that long ago. But, I feel like the whole rewriting of history is part and parcel with these kinds of activities. So, let me see. I'll go back here. Stephen Miller called the whole Democratic Party a domestic extremist organization, clearly invoking the language of NSPM 7. Trump has labeled his political opponents the enemy within, and the press the enemy of the people. Whoever said slippery slopes are a fallacy never met Donald Trump. If Sanchez Estrada indeed moved the zines because he foresaw they're being used to tie his wife to a non-existent terrorist network and a shooting, he should be commended for his prescience. Prescience? Maybe more of us should think like Sanchez Estrada, or would that be a crime? And that is the end of that article on The Intercept. And so it's like we've had this nice little write-up, very heartwarming thing on Visit Jackson, which is, the city's tourism arm. Read up this nice thing about the Landmass Library, and then we have in other not even that far away parts of the country, I mean, this is Texas, this is 2 states away, Having people being arrested and sentenced for 30 years in federal prison for transporting zines, you know? And like I said, we've put the guide on how to use an ice whistle along with whistles in Landmass Library. There have been a lot of subversive ideas in the library, you know? I mean, it's a wide range of things that are in there. You know, Lucy wrote a zine about, oh my god, Shark Tank. That was in there. So were the whistles. You know, so were a lot of different things. And it's like, yeah, the free dissemination of information has become politicized. That is where we're at. Maybe we've been there for a while and just didn't realize it, but that's where we're at. You know, is it that much of a stretch to say that something like that could happen here? I don't know. You know, something that I hadn't really realized, and that's just because I don't go outside, is that, you know, urban foxes does get quite a bit of foot traffic, you know, during the day, not just during shows, but just during the day. It's a bakery and a coffee shop. People go there. They have the coffee. They have the baked goods, you know, and people see this, and, you know, I feel like all it would take, and, you know, I feel like Lucy is maybe planned for this contingency, I would hope. All it would take would be the wrong person getting their feelings hurt over something that they see in the Landmass Library and complaining to someone with power, and that being curtains for a lot of things, you know? And obviously I don't want that to happen, but it could. It very well could. It very well could. And it's like, you know, I try not to be a doomer about a lot of things, because it's easy. It really is easy to be a doomer about some things that are going on these days in this country that some of us have had our bloodlines be forced to live here. So it's like, you know, it's easy to be a doomer about a lot of this, but I will say, and obviously Lucy would know more about this than I would, but I like to think that there's been a lot of good coming out of having the Landmass Library. You know, that is what I feel, what I'm choosing to feel. Even if it is just simple artistic expression, you know, even if it is just a zine of poems that aren't even really political in any way. Again, that's another thing. I feel like so many forms of artistic expression, it is inherently political, and that's another thing too, because I feel like this comes up in hardcore spaces a lot as well, is that hardcore as a genre of music, it's not just the music, it's also the ideology as well that goes with it. You know, that kind of anti-establishment that was formed in punk that now just has like a slightly different musical sound to it, you know, that is the origin. And there was a row that happened, and this again was months ago, where again it was Lucy, and she was right. I want to say she was right. I agreed with her that I feel like there are, and honestly I will say for the most part, I feel like maybe not 100%, but you know, there are perhaps a lot of kids, and by kids I mean like teens to 20-somethings. I am the 20-something, but I'm on the other half of 20-something, so I feel like I can call other 20-somethings kids. All right. I feel like there are some kids that are maybe more into moshing and wearing camo than they are into politics. And like, listen, you can be into the aesthetics of music, but I feel like ignoring the actual origins of it, you're doing a disservice to it as well. And something that she had said, which caused the row, which it was never that serious, but it was never that serious, but people took it seriously, was that, like, yeah, all the kids that are coming to these shows, which I feel like, you know, it's double pronged. You know, could they be doing more to be a little bit more politically, not really motivated, politically active? Sure. But also, can we use the kids, right, who are into the moshing and into the wearing camo pants, take them and, educate them, have them actually believing in something, also yes. So it's like, I feel like, what was I saying? I had a point and then I lost it. That's unfortunate. That's what I get for doing this at 8 o'clock at night. Anywho, I just wanted to read those two articles because they're about sort of the same thing, but the contrast is jarring, and, it could happen here. It could happen here. And, when would that happen? I don't really know. I don't really know. So, anywho, that was that. And that was topic number 2. And I'm going to mark that off. Bloop. Another thing that came out recently that was really good, also sort of related, was there's been a person who has been working on a documentary for a while, and I saw it when the clip started coming out, and I was like, ooh, I really want to see this. And I'm glad it wasn't just like an in-person screening. Hold on. I'm glad it wasn't just an in-person screening. It was posted on the internet. It's called Hattiesburg DI-Why. It is it's not really half hour, it's 27 minutes. Mini documentary about the Hattiesburg DIY scene, which, has some crossover with Jackson, but I feel like, I would say Jackson and Hattiesburg are sister scenes in a way, but Hattiesburg is a little bit different because it is more, I would say, of a college town. Now, I've said this before, Hattiesburg does feel more like a college town, even though Jackson, there are a bunch of colleges here, but the colleges are Jackson State, Mississippi College, the law school, ? We have a few community colleges, Hines, and maybe another one that I'm forgetting, but definitely Hines. And then like Belhaven and Millsaps. I think there's only 3 4-year, I guess Mississippi College. So 4 4-year institutions. Hold on. Actually, MISSISIPI College. Well, they're in Clinton. So I'm going to include them. Whatever. I'll include them. But also 3 of those ones that I just said are like Christian schools. Millsap, Belhaven, and Mississippi College are Christian universities. Jackson State is like the only state one run here. What is UMMC? University of Mississippi Medical Center. Well, that's like a med school. Oh, what is this? University of Mississippi College of Medicine. Beware. On the med school subreddit from 9 months ago. I attend medical school in a different... Okay, hold on. I want to read this. I attend medical school in a different state, but I have a friend who's in the same year as me at UMMC. This is a text I received from him today. Okay, so we started neuro today. And first of all, we had an exam Monday for endo repro. And then a final on Wednesday. Then mandatory class from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 today to start neuro. The first thing they tell us that they are doing daily walks around to check the class for earbuds, and if they catch anyone, it's automatic 2.5 points off the final grade and sent to professionalism review board to deal with us. Okay, and I don't know about the times, like the time thing. I can't speak on that, but also you shouldn't be wearing. I'm just gonna say it. I don't know if this is boomer of me, but perhaps you shouldn't be wearing earbuds when you're in med school. I'm just saying. They're going to be checking the bathrooms during class to make sure no one is staying in there too long. That is crazy. I kind of understand not wearing earbuds because you're in school. Not only you're in school, you're in med school. And I feel like we're about to have a generation of ChatGPT med students. That's not going to be good. They're going to become doctors, Anywho, the person goes on to say, this is unacceptable. The students are being treated like delinquent grade schoolers. This isn't the first time something has happened. The students at UMMC are forced to stay in class for 8 hours every single day and are hardly given any time to study on their own, which every medical student knows is very important. The students are trying to do things at their own pace by doing Anki? What is that? Hold on. I haven't listened. I don't know what any of this is. ANKI. What is Anki? Oh, flashcards. Oh, okay. I guess. Powerful, intelligent flashcards. Oh, all right. I mean, yeah, flashcards. What do we have? It wasn't this. It was called something else. I forget. It doesn't matter. And reviewing past material while in mandatory class. Most people in medical school find going to class to be a very inefficient way of studying. My school has maybe a 15 to 20% of the class show up to lectures. They are in their second year and they've never had a student come close to making 100 on one of their exams. For example, the top one of our class has a 99 on average, and our third quartile? Oh my god, QARTILE. Listen, we're gonna move on. Is in the mid-80s, which is normal. This is not because the students at UMMC are incompetent or dumb. It's because they're given ridiculous amounts of material to master in a short period of time with ridiculous time restrictions. Obviously, I've met some of his new buddies down there, and I've got to say, I've never met a more miserable group of medical students. It's already hard enough. Their dean meetings are essentially just students raging at the staff, and the staff just brushing it off and retaliating with making more ridiculous rules. Don't go to this school. And also, UMMC is not just a school, it's a hospital. It's a level 1 trauma center, I want to say. Do they have the med students in the level 1 trauma center? I will say, maybe this is anti-education of me, and I haven't really had to go to UMMC for very many things, but they do have some specialist offices. I've been to an ENT there when I was dealing with the stuff with my ear, which I don't even know if I've gone into the stuff with my ear, which I can. But after I talk about Hattiesburg DI-Why, and they had a med student in there, and I was like, are we in class or am I at the doctor? Like, what's going on? Like, I don't know if I want to have med students in the room with me while I'm at the doctor's office. And I should have said something, but I didn't think it was going to be like that. I didn't know what it was going to be like. I don't go to the doctor that often. So it's like, anywho. For fun, here are some of the responses from our other friends in different medical schools from around the country. I'm not gonna lie, I'd rather take each step exam twice and have to score 90% or higher to pass and go to your school. Yeah, your school hates you, bro. I told people at my school about this, and one said I'm assuming K-word herself. And then, dude, what the F? Well, I mean, it's a school. And it's in Jackson. It's a med school, though. It's a little bit different. I don't know if that counts as a 4-year institution. But anyways, all that to say, back to what I was actually talking about, Hattiesburg does feel a little bit different to me than Jackson in that, there's one, what is it, MC? No. What's the school in Hattiesburg? Hold on. Hattiesburg College. Southern Miss. And William Carey, not William and Carey. But it's Southern Miss is the one that I'm thinking of. Yeah. Anyway, what was I talking about? Hattiesburg DI-Why. It's out. It's on YouTube. It's on Amanda Myrick's channel. It's really well done. That's the point I wanted to make. It is really well done. It was really enjoyable to watch. And hats off to the people who made it because, again, it is really well done. And yeah. Listen, I searched Hattiesburg DI-Why, which it's DI/Y as in the question, WHY. And I came upon this video called They Want Me Out of Hattiesburg, Mississippi, which is almost certainly clickbait. After reviewing restaurants across the city, I somehow ended up with the mayor, restaurant owners, and locals on my trail. All right, man. All right, whatever. Sure, go off. Go ahead. Anywho, this mini documentary is really well done. They interview some people in the Hattiesburg music scene, the Hattiesburg DI-Why scene down there. And it really does make you feel and make you understand why Hattiesburg is so special. And, yeah, I will say Hattiesburg does get some great shows. They got the Jonathan Scales Orchestra a few months ago. Was that April? Honestly, I was kind of jealous about that. And I do wish I went, but again, I do wish I went to Hattiesburg a little bit more, but it is an hour and a half away. down 49, and that is kind of a slog of a drive. I've only driven down there a couple of times, and each time, well, the first time that I actually went to Hattiesburg, I was driven. I went with Lucy to a show, to an Abby Ooze show. That was last year. And it was fun, but again, I mean, it's a lot better when you're driving with someone. I mean, I think most things in life are a lot better when you have someone there with you. Big shocker, I know. But in the times that I've driven by myself, not necessarily to Hattiesburg, but down 49, it is a slog. Because you have to drive down 49 to get to Mobile. And given that I will be having all of my Thanksgivings for the foreseeable future not at my home and in Mobile, it's a slog. It's a slog, and I kind of hate driving down there. I'm not even gonna lie. It's kind of the worst, and I kind of hate it. But we have established that I hate driving in general, but I don't know. Yeah, anywho. All that aside, it would be nice to go to Hattiesburg a little bit more often, even though, again, it is a slog, and driving back by myself in the middle of the night probably wouldn't be the most pleasant thing, but Hattiesburg has a lot that is special about it, and all of that is detailed in this documentary, which I think you all should watch. It's called Hattiesburg DI/Why, as in the question, WHY, on Amanda Myrick's channel. Let me mute. I'm gonna click in here. And it's only 27 minutes. It is only 27 minutes. That is it. But it's really well done, and I really like it a lot, and it's great. So, there you go. That's that. That was the thing that I wanted to mention. And now that we are in the sort of kind of halfway point, not really halfway point, it's the sort of kind of halfway point, let's talk about upcoming shows, because I haven't gone to any. God, I'm wearing shorts, and my thighs are just sticking to this darn chair. Oh my god. Okay. So, the day that this comes out, July 1st, there will be a show. There is The Pause, Headcanon, and Die With Nature at CS's. Oh my god. This fly is gonna drive me nuts. And it's dark, and I really need to take my trash out, and if I don't, the flies are just gonna proliferate. So I gotta do that. Well, I mean, it's only like 8. Anywho, The Pause, Headcanon, and Die With Nature at CS's at 7 o'clock. That is today. If you're watching this on the day that it comes out, it's July 1st. And then on the 3rd, we have Zashed, Skinny Brag, and Wretched at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Jackson. That's at 6 o'clock. That's Friday, July 3rd. Chances are you might have that day off. If you don't, it's at 6. So there you go. And then, where am I? On the 5th, we have Midnight Papers and Eyes Like Yours at Urban Foxes. That's at 6. And then that next day, a Monday, we have Bad Trip, Blighted, Hush Puppy, and Victory Dog at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Jackson. Oh my god, what did I just do? Go back to month view. Jesus. Where was I? On the 7th, we got 2 shows. Ooh. We got a Tuesday. 2 shows on a Tuesday. Look at that. Frontal Assault, Yotuma, Ants on Acid, and Plague Burner at CS's. That's on a Tuesday, the 7th. And then we have Oh Dang, Headcanon, and Too Darn Loud at Urban Foxes. Also, well, no, hold on. This one's at 6. This one's at 7. The Urban Foxes show is at 7. And then on the 8th, that's a Wednesday, we have Drosera, Wretched, Ants on Acid, and Luca at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Jackson. Which, they're doing 2 shows in a row. That's interesting. Where are they from? I feel like I've heard this name before, but I also haven't. I'm going to look them up. Now, Drosera, which is so crazy because when that show was announced, I was like, oh man, Drosera, that name sounds so familiar. Never mind, I have a giant circular Drosera sticker on my sticker and pin wall, and I took pictures of the show that they were at last, and I was also at that show. So, yeah, I've been to a lot of shows, and sometimes I forget. Where are they from? Oh, they're from Mississippi. Sledge band from Mississippi. Okay. How long ago was this? It's 2025. Where are they from, though? They're from Mississippi. It doesn't say where they're from. Where in Mississippi? Where? I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't find out. But that's on Wednesday, the 8th. And then we have the return of Shitted. Because I remember giggling about their name before. Because the last time they were here, that was May 24th of last year. They're coming back. They are coming back. And they will be with Die With Nature and Eyes Like Yours at Urban Foxes Sunday the 12th at 7 o'clock. And then, and I don't have a time for this because there was no time on the flyer. And flyer makers, who, what? Maybe not what. Who, where, when. Maybe even a why. Put a why in there. Why not? You know, there was no when. There was a when in that it was the 14th. There was no time on the flyer. So I don't know when it's going to be at. Anywhere from 6 to 8 o'clock, probably. We have Bad Move, Cooked, Snake Meadow Hill, and Skinny Brag at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Jackson. And then on the 17th, we have Safe Word, Gabraxas Compendium, Jillalope, and Elohim at Urban Foxes. That's going to be a noise show, by the way. And then after that, we have Zombie, Rosehaven Motor Hotel, and Snake Meadow Hill. That's going to be on the 19th of July. That's a Sunday. And then Tuesday, the 28th, we have Fall 50 Feet, Inside the Hollow, Moral Law, and Wretched at the Unitarian Universalist Church. We have a lot of shows coming up in the Unitarian Universalist Church of Jackson. And then going into August, I only have 2 on the calendar. We have Gravehuffer, Plagueburn, and Die With Nature. Sunday, August 7th. August 2nd. That's a month before my birthday, by the way, at CS's. And then on the 22nd, we have, don't make a new event, please. We have Color Revolt and Smokies at Dueling Hall at 6:30. And then in September, which that's not the last one do I have anything in November? No, I don't. Okay. In September, we have the Callous Dowboys, Kaonashi, Girl of Glass and Wielded Steel at Howlin' Mouths at 6 or 7. Because I have the calendar item from the ticket that I bought that says 7. But on the thingamabob, the flyer, it said 6. So I don't know. And then in October, we have Dent May, Sad Bath, and Newscast, Tuesday, October 20th, at Howlin' Mouths. Also, no time for that one. It'll be at some point that day. We have a lot of great shows coming up. June was stacked. Just looking back at my calendar, June was quite stacked. And I think July also stacked, but on like the first half of the week instead of, your Fridays and your Saturdays. You got a lot of Sunday shows and a couple Tuesday shows. So yeah. And, I wouldn't be able to enjoy any of these shows if I didn't have my Eargasm earplugs. That's right. You can use my code JX10 to get 10% off your order on eargasm.com. Use my code JX10. You only have until August 7th. Okay? August 7th. You have until then to use my code JX10, get 10% off, and protect your ears. They're an investment, okay? They are a little expensive. They are an investment. I've had mine for several years. If you're the kind of person who can keep up with things, these will last you very long. If you lose things, try not to do that, but also try to keep track of these, okay? They do last a long time because it is just silicone, I guess it's silicone, and as long as you keep them clean, they'll be fine. Don't lose them. Keep them in their little case. Have a place for them. There's a key ring on the case. I don't put them on my keys because I don't feel like it, simply put. But You can put yours on your keys or on your little carabiners. You got a carabiner? Put it on there. You need to keep up with these because not only are they sort of kind of expensive, but they will last a long time if you take care of them. And I know I'm not your mom, but you should really be keeping up with your things. Anyways, all right, I haven't checked this in a while, but I'm gonna check it right now. I'm gonna hit enter, and I'm hoping that the begging will stop. I'm hitting enter. The begging will continue. I need one more. And honestly, I'm like so close to just like cutting it off. Like honestly, so close to cutting it off. And just like being like, whatever, we're just gonna have 19. I've been looking. I made this form back in like December. That's how I've been plugging this. How long I've been plugging this, all right? And honestly, maybe I will just cut it off, That'll probably be fine. I am going to put the QR code up because, hey, maybe things will change between now and Wednesday or between, I don't know, maybe things will happen. I would have liked to have at least 20 responses because I said I wanted this out in early 2026. Guess what? It's not early 2026. We're in the middle of the year now. But what are you seeking? What are you looking for in a person? It doesn't have to be romantic. It doesn't have to be sexual. It can be friends. It can be pen pals, language exchange. You can have, do you want someone to teach you how to kickflip? You can look for that. Do you want to teach somebody how to kickflip? You can also put that in there. Do you want, I was going to say someone to come paint your house, but I mean, hey, do you want someone to come paint your house? I hope you pay them because that sounds like a job, but you could put that in there. You can put whatever you want in there. The only thing I ask is that you be over 18. That's it. I have 2 responses from people who are 17, and I can't use either of them. All right. You're not getting in there if you're 17. I'm sorry. If you're watching this, you put in your response and you're 17, I'm not putting you in there. That's it. That's really all there is to it. There's been a QR code up this whole time. Submit to my zine, seeking, and you might find what you're looking for. Honestly, I am more insistent on getting the little foreword that I wrote to go along with it out because honestly, I think I did a really good job on it and I want that to be out. So, this will go in the Landmass Library when it is done. And if you submit, you will get an email copy of it, a digital copy of it. So, yeah. I will say I have, of course, I read them as they come in, and yeah. I will say a lot of you, I don't know why I paused on that. My brain blanked. There was nothing there. A lot of you are just looking for very normal things. In fact, I would say everyone is looking for very normal things, And I guess that says something about the human condition or something like that. We're all just looking for normal things. But for whatever reason, it's really hard to find that. Which is why I am making the scene. Instead of it just being a concept in my brain, there's a thing that I am planning on making if I can ever get 20 freaking responses. Will I? I don't know. The world may never know. I may never know. So yeah, submit to my zine seeking. I have 2 more things on here. Yeah, that's it for my ad read. I'm thirsty. I have 2 more things on here. So, I mean, this isn't going to be super long, but I think this movie came out like last year, maybe in the festival circuit, and how it's like getting a somewhat wider release because it's on, what do you call it? HBO Max. That's where I watched it. But the movie Pillion with Alexander Skarsgård and the other actor whose name I didn't remember. I can look this up. We're gonna look it up. Hold on. Pillion. Yes, this did come out last year. Harry Melling, that is the actor's name. And it is, the Leather Daddy movie from last year. But it's kind of more than that, honestly. It was, I watched it on HBO Max because what was this, a couple of weeks ago, I was like, I have this TV that I never use. I legit never use my TV. And all these streaming services that I'm mooching off of my parents for. Oh, it's on Hulu. Hold on. No, it's not. I think it's an add-on on Hulu, which was supposed to be going away this year. Like, we're halfway through the year. I thought it would have disappeared sooner, but Hulu is still around. I guess they had to get that last season of The Bear out before they called it quits, which I don't know if I plan on watching, because anyway, I saw it. It is more than a Leather Daddy movie, it's a Leather Daddy movie with heart. Also, he's not strictly a Leather Daddy, he rides a motorcycle. Alexander Skarsgård's character's name is Ray. Yeah. I don't know why I thought it was Roy. It's not Roy. It's Ray. And I guess it kind of goes into the whole kink subculture of, like, I don't really get into this. I mean, I don't get into anything because I have no one to get into things with, which is why I'm making my zine seeking. But, there are people out there who, and again, this is a more kink thing, will have partners that they collar. Now, sometimes this will be like actual collars made for like dogs. Sometimes, from what I've learned from educating myself, sometimes these are just like necklaces that you like never take off, and it's like more representative. But in this case, Colin, who is played by Harry Melling, is collared by Alexander Skarsgård's character, and it is quite literally just a chain with a lock on it. And sometimes it's like that too. Sometimes they do have locks on it. And the whole thing about it is that Colin is like, this shy, meek guy. He's in a barbershop quartet in the UK. Didn't know they got into that over there. That's cool. And he sees Alexander Skarsgård's character at this like pub situation on Christmas ? And then they get together, and then there's like all of that. But then, you have your heart ripped out, because the whole thing about it is that they follow this like really strict by my standards, I suppose, and perhaps other people's standards, thing where like, I don't know exactly what this would be called. I know pet play is like a thing, and there is like a leather pup in the movie as like a side character who I don't think has any lines or anything like that. But, Colin sleeps on the floor. He has to wake up at a certain time and like cook for him. And honestly, on the surface, it's like, oh my gosh, this is like such a controlling setup, but there are legitimately a lot of people like Colin, which, I mean, this is fictionalized, who want setups like that. They want that life, and it works for them, and it's ordinary for them and like normal. And that of course all clashes because, Colin's like, oh, I want you to meet my parents, especially my mom who's like dying of cancer. And, Alexander Skarsgård's character does, but, the mom straight up doesn't like him at all. Cause, the way he talks to Colin is like a little mean, perhaps. Maybe not straight up mean, just a little bit mean. And the dad is like trying to be kind of understanding, but the mom is like, no, like, why are you so uptight? Like, what's your deal? So yeah, honestly, it is a really nice movie. Aside from the BDSM of it all, it is heartbreaking as well, because the ending, which, spoilers for Pillion, by the way, it's on HBO Max if you want to watch it, probably pirated as well, is that, Colin wants a break from like the strict schedule that they have set up. And he's like, at first he's like, oh, I just want a day off. I want a day where I get to sleep in the bed with you. Also, all of this happens, no, he asked for a day off to just be able to sleep in bed with him. Like, oh my god. And do normal couple stuff. But then Alexander Skarsgård's character is like, no, we're not doing that. And then, the mom dies because, she's had cancer since the beginning. She dies. And, Colin obviously has a rough go of it because that's his mom. And so there is that one moment where there's like some tenderness and some kindness. And eventually, Alexander Skarsgård's character does agree to like let him have the day off. And they have like a really nice day off. Like it's normal, Oh my god, I hit the cable. Please don't. Okay, I just bumped the freaking cable that goes from my camera to my computer. That was low-key kind of scary because sometimes that makes my camera malfunction. Anyways, we're moving on. They have the normal day, and then like the next day, he's just gone. He's just absconded. Like the apartment's cleaned out. And he's just nowhere to be found. Alexander Skarsgård's character. And also keep in mind, this wasn't addressed in the movie. So like, slight plot hole. But Colin's been wearing this chain with a lock on it this entire time. Because Alexander Skarsgård's character had the key around his neck. And now he's gone. And now he just has this chain with a lock on it. So like, do they call a locksmith? Do they break out the bolt cutters? Do they get the angle grinder? Because he had to get it off some way. I feel like I'm focused on the wrong thing here. But still, that wasn't addressed, like, at all. And then, of course, it's bookended with, like, the next Christmas, which it's only been, like, a year. Only a year passes. It's bookended to the next Christmas where, Colin's doing the whole barbershop quartet thing in the pub, and he's looking for like a new partner. And in a weird way, I mean, it's not weird, but kind of starting out, you have Colin as a character being very shy, very timid, but this experience has kind of given him like a new confidence in a way, and he kind of grows as a person from it, even though I feel like on the surface, like, their relationship probably wasn't gonna last very long. It was very, what do you call it? There's a word for this, of a relationship where, it happens and then it like phases out. I can't think of words. We're just, it's fine. But, so I wasn't really expecting their relationship to last that long, but for it to end the way that it did, like, oh my god, you have to do him like that. That's cruel, low key. So yeah. It is a pretty nice movie. There's apparently an unrated version on HBO Max that I did not know about until after the movie had finished and the credits started rolling. So yeah. Wasn't Alexander Skarsgård in True Blood? Hold on. But anyways, I feel like people remember this because during the press tour for it, Alexander Skarsgård was leather daddying it up. When was True Blood like on the air? First air date September 7th, 2008. When did it go off the air? How long was it around for? When did it end? Hold on. Run it back. Episode guide. Season 7. There's 7 seasons. Only 7 seasons? Ended in 2014. And it was like one of HBO's like big shows at the time. So wait, True Blood was on the air the same time Game of Thrones was? Because this is 2014. Game of Thrones started in 2011. No. Yes, 2011. First season of Game of Thrones is 2011. I did start watching it when I was in high school, though, after season 5. So, like, that was kind of a long time ago. And now Another Seven Kingdoms is out, and the new season of House of the Dragon is airing, which I haven't really been able to get into House of the Dragon. Maybe I would like Another Seven Kingdoms. There was a point in time where I was just so into the lore of Game of Thrones. Like I was in there. I was in there. And then the final season happened and it's like, what was all that for? You know, that was mildly disappointing. More than mildly disappointing, you know? But part of me wants to go back and like rewatch all of Game of Thrones, but like who has the time? I mean, to be fair, I've watched all 8 seasons of FBI before I've gone to bed. But I feel like that's going to bed TV. I feel like I can put on a Dick Wolf production and be lulled to sleep. I feel like for something like Game of Thrones, you need to be paying attention. You don't need to pay attention necessarily to like FBI or Law and Order. That's why I put it on to go to sleep. It's nice background noise and I can be lulled to sleep with it. So, yeah, I don't know if I would and also Taskmaster, but I've been watching Taskmaster before I go to bed for like the last 2, 3, more than that years. I feel like I needed a break so I can come back, rewatch the whole thing, like start from season 2. So I feel like season 1 of Taskmaster wasn't that great, but start from season 2 or 3. I might start from season 3, work my way back up. I'm sorry, series 3, because they're on 21 now. Camille Nanjiani was on this latest series, I think. So yeah, I do really like Taskmaster, but I needed some time off. So I guess after I finish FBI, I'll move on to Taskmaster again, or maybe not. We'll see. I feel like there's had to have been a few more series of QI since I've last watched it. Which, by the way, I've been watching that by watching the not exactly legal uploads from on YouTube of QI. But Taskmaster is officially uploaded to YouTube, so I don't have to worry about, the uploads disappearing after a while. So that's pretty great. Okay, the last thing I wanted to talk about, I was gonna get like way more in depth, but I've already been here for an hour and a half, and I don't want to get too into it, but I will say, since the last episode, I have listened to pretty much all of Kaonashi's discography. Like, and I'm not even joking. I've listened to most of the music that they've put out, like, in total, because I had really gotten into them once I saw they were going to be here with Callous Cowboys in September. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll listen to their music. I listened to the latest thing that they put out called I Want to Go Home, and I was kind of listening to it casually. But then, I started paying attention and also looking at the album art for the rest of their music, and I was like, well, is this connected? Is there a story here? Am I hearing a concept? And I was hearing a concept. Kaonashi's music since 2018, well, sort of 2016, but 2018, with the album Why Did You Do It, follows the Lemon House High saga, and I was gonna get like way into it, and honestly, screw it, I am getting way into it because now I'm thinking about it and it's like, I really like this. Like, I have gotten so into it. I've been reading lyrics, I've been watching music videos, I've been watching lyric breakdowns from the band. Like, I'm so into this now, it's kind of crazy, like the degree to which I am now into this. So there's a story, and I Want to Go Home is the culmination of that. It has ended after this album, but there's so much more to consider. So I wanted to know if the lore. So again, that's why I've been reading the lyrics, listening to all the music, analyzing the album art, and watching the various videos on the Kaonashi YouTube channel that is there, kind of explaining the lore. So it follows Thor, or 5, we're gonna get there, characters throughout the story, and it is mostly in one character's point of view, mostly, but not entirely, in one character's point of view. So the characters that we have, the main character is Jamie, and Jamie is represented with the blue hoodie and the messenger bag, and everyone pretty much has, like, I wouldn't say a uniform, a costume. We'll call it a costume that makes them, identifiable. And so Jamie's represented by the blue hoodie and the messenger bag, and they are the main character. And I say they because everyone has, by the way, something that I noticed, everyone has gender neutral names, but Jamie specifically is referred to with both masculine and feminine, in the masculine and feminine way. And there's obviously some gender going on there in the lyrics. And so the next character we have is Morgan Montgomery, who is like Jamie's bully, represented by the red flannel, right? And then we have the love interest, who is Casey Diamond, represented by the yellow beanie and oversized like gray sweatshirt, right? And then we have Taylor, who doesn't really pop up that much until I Want to Go Home, which I Want to Go Home is mostly entirely in Taylor's point of view, I should say. And they're represented, which are not really on like the album art or anything like that, but in the music videos represented by green shirt and the overalls. And Jamie also has a sibling, who again is represented in the masculine and the feminine in the lyrics, with an orange hoodie. That's their like color, their uniform, their costume. They have a sibling called Jackie, right? And so all of this is, and it's sort of out of order within the music. You really have to like piece it together in your head. But the whole story is that Jamie is like this misunderstood youth who, again, clearly has some gender going on there. And they go to Lemon House High School, probably not a real school, in Philadelphia. Yes, because that's where the band is from. Yes, that's where the band is from. I had to think about it. And so, they're having a tough go of it. They're a little sensitive, perhaps depressed, and they are actively getting bullied by Morgan. The first thing that we see, well, not the first thing that we see, but I think this is the first part of the story, like the first actual chronological part of the story, which is started in Dear Lemon House, You Ruined Me senior year. So that's not really the first part. Well, yes, it is the first part of the story, I think. Yes. I think this one kind of goes through time a little bit more than the other ones do. I don't know. I've been putting the red string together, trying to piece this together for like the last 2 weeks, and this is my understanding of it. By the way, I do know there is like some authorial intent with some of these characters, but I have my own headcanons, all right? I'm fully invested in this now. So we start out our, I think, chronological first introduction to Jamie. Actually, no, that's not true. And I know that's not true because I know it's not true. Anyways, the way that these characters are connected, obviously, aside from all going to the same school, Morgan is like actively bullying the crap out of Jamie for, no reasons other than why not? But in the EP, where is it? The Three Faces of Beauty, of Violent Misinterpretation of Morgan Montgomery, we get the idea that he's sort of doing this to cover for something, and it's to cover for the fact that he is gay and like receiving some pushback. I think pushback is like a light way to put it, at home. So he's lashing out by targeting Jamie in this way. And so that is how they're connected. So Jamie and Casey are dating, but then they break up at a certain point. We can hear this in the 2018 album in the song Coffee and Conversation, them breaking up. And again, with the authorial intent, it is heavily implied that Casey is this kind of narcissistic person, but I don't know how much I agree with that. with that characterization of her. But I will say the relationship probably is, not even probably, it is really toxic between Jamie and Casey. Like yeah, they probably shouldn't be together, but given Jamie's kind of fragile mental state, the things going on there, it doesn't help. It really does not help. And then of course Jamie and Taylor. I feel like you kind of have to go back and forth in the timeline because that's the only way that I can like describe what's going on. So with I Want to Go Home, which is the culmination of things, the album starts with the car crash. And there's another character that I didn't mention, and it's the counselor. He is the counselor at Lemon House High. He wears a purple tie and maybe like a black shirt, but definitely a purple tie. It's mentioned in the lyrics. And he's kind of weird. I don't know what his deal is, but, and also he is referred to in the masculine, I want to say like exclusively. But also another thing about it is that Morgan is referred to in the masculine and the feminine. Taylor's referred to in the masculine and the feminine. Jamie's referred to in the masculine and the feminine. Jackie's referred to in the masculine and the feminine. But the only two characters that aren't are Casey and the counselor. Because Casey is pretty much only referred to as a girl, and the counselor isn't really referred to with gendered pronouns all that much, but in the times that he is, it has been in the masculine. So there's a lot of that going on, which makes piecing things together mildly confusing. Not as much for Jamie, but definitely for Morgan and Taylor. But in the Three Faces of Beauty, in I want to say it's that last song, Exit Part 5, they even kind of play with that in saying that, you know, Morgan is a girl's name. When Morgan is confronted about being gay. So there you go. And clearly Morgan has some issues with masculinity because in the song, I'm going to be referencing songs, what is this? The Sanguine 2 Misguided Malice, which is Taylor addressing Morgan. You know, he says, cut your hair short if it makes you feel like a man. And what else do toxically masculine people do to feel like a man? They do bullying. So there we go. Morgan's got some troubles going on with his masculinity, but also in Dear Lemon House You Ruined Me, he's referred to in the feminine. So it like goes back and forth, really. You can only really rely on the names. So, but Taylor and Jamie are best friends, and the only way that they meet, it's kind of orchestrated, and we find this out in I Want to Go Home. So we've established the counselor, and we've also established Jackie, who is Jamie's older sibling, and Jackie seems to be the only good thing that Jamie has going for them. Like, Jamie is getting it at home and at school, but Jackie is like the one bright spot in their life. And then the counselor runs over Jackie in their car in Fairmount Park after dark. That's the name of the song. That's also when and where it happens. And Taylor witnesses this. Now, why did the counselor run over Jackie? I don't know. I can't figure it out. I don't know if this is ever said. It might have just been an accident, but Taylor witnessed it. And it was an accident, but the counselor also sells Casey his Blood Red Camry in the song Blood Red Camry Dance Party in the EP. Where is it? Where did it go? Where is it? Hold on, I'm finding it. A Second Chance at Forever, The Brilliant Lies from Casey Diamond. We find out that, you know, and this came up before I Want to Go Home, by the way. We find out, which, I mean, obviously the story had probably been set well in advance. But anyways, we find out that the counselor sold Casey the car that he used to hit Jackie rather. And so, you know, Taylor and Jamie don't know each other, right? When Taylor witnesses the counselor run Jackie over, but Taylor knows that the counselor did it and saw, you know, didn't know who it was, but obviously saw the orange hoodie when Jackie got run over. And so obviously Taylor is grappling with this because, like, what the heck, I just saw someone get run over in Fairmount Park after dark. What was Taylor doing there? I'm not really sure. Not entirely sure. But then, we get the emotions with it in the next song, well, the song after next, When I Say, where Taylor's like, I saw this, I don't know what to do, I didn't want to be there, and I don't know what to do. And then we have the song Jamie featuring Anthony Green of Seosin and Circus Survive. In the song Jamie, where Taylor first sees Jamie on TV the next day, I want to say, after that happens, or a couple days after that happens. And after this point, Taylor becomes fixated upon Jamie in a way that I would argue is far more toxic than anything Jamie and Casey had going on. In my opinion, way more toxic than anything Jamie and Casey had going on. Like, it is to the point of obsession. And so from that point on, Taylor manufactures their meet cute kinda in the song, hold on, Taylor, Taylor, it's got periods in the middle of it, where we see this is the first day of, I want to say senior year, no, that would make sense, because they're on a school bus? Yeah. So no, I think that's, hold on, I'm going to click on this, it's not going to play because I'm muted, so I can see the freaking lyrics and actually figure this out. Let me see. Blah, 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 blah. First day. Okay, no, that's gonna be in the next song. First period, first day. Okay, it doesn't say what year. No, this is senior year. Yeah, no, okay, that is Jamie's senior year. I'm tweaking. Anyway. So, as we will find out in the song, where is it? Auditorium Annihilation, which is sort of spoilers for how all of this ends. Taylor's telling Jamie, like, hey, you're probably wondering why I chose to tap you on your shoulder when that's not even your bus stop, and I'm 2 years older. That's because Taylor saw Jamie on TV after Jackie's death was reported, which, by the way, that song is a banger. Jamie on I Want to Go Home, 10 out of 10. Love it. So catchy. But also so sinister at the same time, because, like, that sort of sets into motion the events of, like, everything, kind of. And so, that is when everything is orchestrated. And from the beginning, to me, it seems like, obviously Taylor wouldn't like Morgan, because in their orchestrated meet cute, which is illustrated in the song Taylor on Dear Lemon House You Ruined Me, Morgan beats Jamie up and steals their 64 gig iPod Touch and the headphones. And so that, again, sets things into motion. And eventually, I have listened to the Casey Diamond EP. I didn't really like it as much as their other stuff, but I read the lyrics. So it's like, again, I just feel like this is kind of a regular toxic relationship, in my opinion. Now, is saying a regular toxic relationship kind of crazy, but whatever. We'll move past that. I think from that point forward, so I did read an interview where they go through each of the songs and kind of on I Want to Go Home and kind of explain things. And from that, I got the impression that Taylor was always trying to drive a wedge between Casey and Jamie so that Taylor could have Jamie to themselves, because, there's a deeper level of obsession here. And I'm going to get into a theory, which, I don't know, Kaonashi, I know you guys are big fans, so if you want to chime in and let me know whether or not I'm correct, then by all means, but what was I saying? I think Taylor was trying to drive a wedge between Jamie and Casey, like, this entire time, to have Jamie to themselves. And so, you know, let's get to the kind of breakdown of everything, right? So eventually, Jamie and Casey are no longer together. You know, at this point, Jackie's dead. Jackie's gone. Their parents, it seems like, have, according to Jamie, have moved on far too quickly. And all the pressures are mounting and mounting and mounting. And what I think happened, as detailed in Auditorium Annihilation, which I think I'm skipping a step here. I'm skipping a step. So, in Why Did You Do It? It is kind of implied that Jamie maybe sort of kind of did a school shooting senior year, because there is a tragedy that is alluded to in one of those interviews that I read that went through the song meanings of From I Wanna Go Home. And so, given the lyrics and also one of the music videos, that is what is sort of implied that happened. And also in the lyrics themselves. Which it's not, why did you do it? It's, Dear Lemon House, you ruined me. What is that sound? Okay, that's upstairs. Someone's running water. I think, hold on. Let me see. I'm going to the lyrics. Yeah. So the pressures have been mounting on Jamie this whole time. And what I think happens, and this, again, there is authorial intent, and then I'm not entirely sure. Also, something that I forgot to mention is it is sort of implied in the Casey Diamond EP that Casey cheated on Jamie with Morgan, which is crazy, by the way. The guy who beat up your partner and stole his iPod, which, again, that could just go into the toxic nature / maybe narcissism of it all. But it is implied that happened. And so, you know, all this happens, right? Jackie dies. Counselor runs him over, which I don't think Jamie ever knows that Jackie was run over by the counselor, because I don't think Taylor ever told them. Because this whole time, the secret has been eating at Taylor, who does eventually confront the counselor, who admits to it, by the way, and also says that there was a reason. We don't know the reason, but a reason that, you know, they left their previous job at a school in New Jersey. So the counselor has been doing things, and also I think every character has had some kind of interaction with the counselor, either being counseled by them, in the case of Taylor and Jamie and Morgan, or being sold a murder weapon, basically. In the case of Casey, who now owns the Camry that was used to run Jackie over. And the crazy thing about it, you know, Taylor knows this. Taylor presumably also knows that Casey owns that car now, because in the Sanguine One, Nevermind Narcissist, where Taylor is addressing Casey, they're basically saying they're gonna pin her for Jackie's death, which is crazy. Because it says in it, hold on. Crap, they're not on there. Hold on. Guineause.com. I'm gonna have to consult the lyrics really quick. Give me a minute. That album, and let me see. So I guess, you know, in their friendship, Taylor saw how toxic it was between Jamie and Casey, but, you know, I feel like that was a tool used to drive a wedge between them. And so Taylor says, I put the hoodie in your Camry's trunk. You're going down for everything. Taylor is gonna frame Casey for Jackie's death, and not the counselor who actually did it and admitted to it, because of the obsession of Taylor, the obsession by Taylor of Jamie, because they want Jamie all to themselves. And eventually, I think Jamie gets hip to all of this, because in the Sanguine 3 Auditorium Annihilation, I think this happens after Jamie does the maybe school shooting. Um, and they're somehow able to evade police. And now it's just Jamie and Taylor. And they're having this conversation. And one thing, or a couple things that Taylor says, you're probably wondering why I waited in the school lobby, and you're probably wondering why I put those feathers around your body. Now, if you'll go, and you're just gonna have to play along here because I'm not sharing my screen. If you go and look at the album art for, hold on. If you look at the album art for, Dear Lemon House, The Three Faces of Beauty, A Second Chance at Forever, and I Want to Go Home. It's all pretty much the same scene, but zoomed in or out. And in Dear Lemon House, You Ruined Me, you have the green messenger bag, the blue hoodie, that's Jamie, and there's feathers, and there's blood. It's implied Jamie's dead. Who killed Jamie? I don't know. Then we zoom out a little bit, and we have the more full picture. At the Second Chance of Forever, we have Casey's yellow beanie and her sweatshirt, and Morgan obviously standing there, and we see this is zoomed out. We see Jamie there, and it zooms out a little bit further in the cover for I Want to Go Home. And so Taylor is saying, you're probably wondering why I put those feathers around your body. And then another detail, we get to the last song in A Second Chance at Forever, Exit Part 4, Guilt in the Rear View, where at the very last line of that is, and it's from Casey's point of view, is, I know you killed J.A. That's all we hear. We don't know if it does sound like Jamie, because the first half of Jamie and Jackie sound different. That phoneme, that section of the word, it sounds different. So we know she's saying, I know you killed Jamie. And, given that her and Taylor have talked at some point in this timeline, I'm thinking she said that to Taylor. And I'm thinking that because of the obsession, because of the fact that Jamie is pulling back and maybe seeing that Taylor is doing all of this stuff, admitted to orchestrating their meet cute, the whole bridge. I'm just going to read it out. You're probably wondering why I always call your house so late. You're probably wondering why I already had your number saved. You're probably wondering why I chose to tap you on the shoulder when that's not even my bus stop and I'm 2 years older. You're probably wondering why I knew your favorite color is orange. Who else is orange? Jackie. Jackie's hoodie is orange. Keep that in mind. And you're probably wondering why I knew your brother's favorite songs. You're probably wondering why I waited in the school lobby. I think that's during or after the maybe school shooting that happened. And you're probably wondering why I put those feathers around your body. You had such a fall from grace. It really was a shame that Jamie couldn't be more, because Jamie's full name is Jamie B, the letter B, Moore. I guess it's a play on words. That Jamie couldn't be more, and her life was filled with pain. Every pill, every bottle, every fight, every night, every year that got us here to try to make things right. Everything played out exactly how I envisioned. And I hope you see I'm the only one who ever listened. The guilt I fear for knowing what happened to Jackie, but not knowing what to do, which the obvious answer would be to tell the authorities, but whatever. Everyone here in the story is completely dysregulated, so we can't ask for too much, all right? Your guardian angel, my brother's keeper. And then earlier in the song, I think in this song, I've got it all figured out. I've got you back for life. I'll always be by your side. More like my brother and less like a friend, because I know you outside and in. All of this is orchestrated by Taylor. And honestly, I think this is brilliant musical storytelling on the part of Kaonashi. I, again, have been listening to their entire discography, But mostly Why Did You Do It and I Want to Go Home, because those are genuinely story aside bangers, but just seeing the storytelling through the music, through the concept, it's so brilliantly done, and I love it so much. And you don't have to listen to Kaonashi's entire discography, okay? But at least listen to Why Did You Do It and I Want to Go Home, because those are really good. I do also like Dear Lemon House, but particularly Why'd You Do It and I Want to Go Home. It's really great. It's great storytelling, and just the I won't really call it Easter eggs. I think they're just like plot points throughout each of the songs and the music videos, of which I watched a lot of. Yeah, I do quite like the storytelling of this body of work. There is a couple more. Well, there's one single called Hexes on High School Girls, and that is outwardly about Casey. But there's another one that was also released in 2020. This one came out June 29th, and then this other one came out June 30th, 2020. What did I say? June 29th, and then June 20th, so one day after another. That has like a yearbook picture of Morgan Montgomery. This is just a diss track. And looking at the lyrics, it's like about the Philly hardcore scene, which I do love a local diss, but it's not adding to the story. So I kind of, one and done that one. But yeah, it really is like, I don't know, like I've said, I've been putting the red string together because I've been wanting to piece together the story. And I feel like I have mostly pieced together the story. And like I said, there is some authorial intent, but those are also my headcanons. So it really is a great storytelling within music. I don't know what else to say. That's the only thing I can say. It's great storytelling within music. And just like I predicted, another episode where I'm like, oh, I don't have that much to talk about. And here we are, 2 hours later. How about that? Well, this has been the 74th episode of the Runnin My Mouth podcast. I've been your host, Aaron. Thank you for allowing me to run my mouth. Follow me on Instagram, because if you're not following me on Instagram, you're only getting half the story, all right? Use my code JX10 to get 10% off on eargasm.com. How about that? Protect your ears, And what are you seeking? One day I will stop asking, but that day is not today. What are you seeking? What are you looking for in life? You might find it if you submit to my zine seeking, which, depending on how I feel this week, I may or may not cut off early. One entry early. But you know what? It's fine. It really is. The fact that I got any at all is honestly surprising. And also, stream Precipice by Alexina when it comes out July 3rd, 2026. Stream my music. I can say that. Like, I can be able to say, stream my music. Stream my music. Also, another thing with that, I don't have any plans presently to put out any physical editions of Precipice, whether that be a tape or a CD. I could do a flash drive. I feel like we need more wacky physical media. What you could do, and I've had this for a bajillion years, but this is a thing. It's USB-C on this side and regular USB on this side. And if I'm like out, I will use it to, I'll take this dongle, which I need a new one because this is USB 2.0 and it's wet. Oh no, my desk is wet from the stupid glass of ice. Well, shoot. That's crazy. I'll take this, which, again, I need a new one. It's USB 2.0. It's not that great. And I'll plug it in and plug this into my phone if I want to get something off an SD card. But you know what else you can do? You take one of these and you put a flash drive in there and plug it into your phone. Which, I don't think I'll do a flash drive release of my EP. Um, but yeah, that's that. That's it. And I feel like my voice is starting to go out. Crazy. Crazy how that works. Yeah, I've cooked food and I've folded my clothes and now I've done the podcast and I've done all I needed to do today. And I'm very proud of myself and I kind of want to go to bed. It's after 9 o'clock. So I'm gonna go do that. Yeah.